Hi, welcome to Ray's Sensation. I'm your host, Dan, and in this episode, I'm going to be looking at Night Cage, Volume 1, a comic about a women's prison that becomes overrun by vampires. And the reason I'm writing about this is that, or talking about this rather, is because this came out in 2020, but here it is, summer of 2023, and Volume 2 is due to come out. So I thought I'd go ahead and take a look at this. Now, as you can see, there's female vampires dressed in prison uniforms surrounding three young women clad in pretty colorful underpants there. So that kind of gives you the idea. I like scenarios. It's a common scenario thing where people are trapped in a situation that's hard to get out of, and they're, be it terrorists or be it just thugs or what have you, or monsters in this case, that the people are trapped in the area. So this book covers a lot of the let's call it the Roger Corman, although he's not the only one who did it, but Roger Corman had a series of successful women in prison films that he made in the late 70s and early 80s, Caged Heat being one of them. And this has all the tropes that were in those type of movies and in all the subsequent movies. There got to be these cliches. They're all in here. And they get covered pretty thoroughly. They're handled really well. So let's take a quick look. Now, it starts off with one of my favorite pieces here. I love this thick, heavy line on this. It reminds me of, I should have looked it up. Necro, the Lady Frankenstein kind of Euro horror comic that I think it was Catlin who translated at least 2, maybe 3 volumes of, which was a lot of fun. This reminds me very much of those European comics with these lines. There's not a lot, there's not a lot of things that look like that in here. You see this is much more of a usual line you would see in comics. It's good artwork. You can't use that heavy black line if you're gonna, do all this detail. They're setting the scene on this one, so I understand that. There's one of those Nosferatu inspired vampires that have been in everything from Dusk to Dawn to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, all those kind of things. Bram Stoker's Dracula, stalking outside the house. The husband's going to try and protect his wife from this vampire that's been visiting her. He bursts in and attacks. There's some back and forth, but when the husband seems to kind of get the upper hand, at least for a minute, the wife takes the opportunity to kill him and says, "Don't you get it, Douglas? I want this." She wants to become a vampire. So, like I said, that's the Buffy kind of thing. And the next day, the authorities come. And they find the wife dancing in the backyard with her husband's head, and a vampire bites on her neck. Although the authorities apparently don't pay any notice to that. Then we find ourselves 3 weeks later, and there is a police bus taking prisoners to the prison. And you can see by the way these women are drawn that it's going to be, this is another cliche from like the Roger Corman films, where even if they're a prehistoric cave woman, they're going to have hair and makeup done impeccably. So, these wild curls and stuff there. And these women are going to jail for things that they might not deserve to go to jail for. And so they've got our sympathies. The wife is looking really sick, and she's brought onto this bus too. And then they think she dies during the trip. And so they go like, good thing there's a morgue at the prison. But when they get there, she's woken up and she looks fine and healthy. And so without taking her to the nurse or anything, off they go. And then they have this cutaway of the prison, very Jack Kirby, Baxter building it kind of scene. Then we have this, it looks like he copied poses out of girly magazines for this. Why in the world she would sit on the floor like that? And here's the big bull guard, whose only job it is to be cruel to these women. And the women are supposed to bend over and spread their cheeks. For some reason, this young lady gets down on all fours. So this is giving you some idea of the tone. I'm not going to go through the whole book. Like I say, though, they cover all those women in prison cliches. The new fish being challenged by and threatened by the older inmates who have their own cliques. And, meanwhile, the vampire is turning people. There's some more of that heavy line that I like so much. There's parts of it throughout the thing. There's also some thinner line, and there's some tone and stuff. So anyway, like I said, I'm not going to go into the whole thing. I will say there is titillation. There's a cat fight here. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to spoil everything of this for you. This is really funny. They have the little bits of soap suds covering up the naughtiest bits. It's funny. It's almost, there's a bubble covering up a nipple. Another good part there, and there's some steam covering up things. So there's not really as much vampire action as I might like in this. There's some fighting between the girls, and there's a lot of the usual prison stuff in here. I think maybe this could have moved a little quicker. But, that's just me. I probably, to some people, this is what's going to make this work, is this amount of covering these things. With me, I feel like I know these cliches so well. You could have done it in more of a shorthand and not spend so many pages on it. And although there is some gory violence in the book, it's not really as over the top as you would expect from a modern horror comic. This is more like, I would say this is more like a creepy or eerie, kind of more like a Warren Publications level of violence, and not too much more in the way of sex either. So certainly you've seen gorier stuff, sexier stuff. I think it's really well done. Overall, there's some really good artwork in this. I wish there were more times when it was just this heavier line and they hadn't worried so much about some of the details in it, and it was just this type of work. But this ends, I wouldn't say it's a cliffhanger so much, but I will probably check out Volume 2, as much as I've, hopefully I didn't make it sound too bad talking about what I perceive to be kind of the slowness of it, because I'm so familiar with the cliches it's covering. I think it's well done. There's a lot to like about the artwork, and I think especially younger people who aren't as familiar with this stuff will probably appreciate how long they take for the build-up. But anyway, just pointing out, summer 2023, Night Cage Volume 2. All right, thanks for watching.